We return after a beautiful weekend here. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend as we continue to set sail here through the sky. Clouds on each side and below. Welcome back, everybody. Artist Journal, January 29th, 2024. Broadcasting from the inner half of the nervous system here, where it is beautiful and sunny, just like outside here on a rare sunny day. Rare winter sunny day in Berlin, Germany. My name's Adrian Pocobelli. Welcome back. And so, thank you for all the comments there and the massive support on Twitter there, or X. That was, again, kind of another exciting weekend there. And all the AI bots there, too, which are pretty hilarious. The love bots, so to speak. Maybe we'll see that coming up here. Let's run through this episode. There's a ton to get through. So this is Rip Cache. And what this looks like to me, and why I wanted to start with this, is because it looks so original. What this looks like to me is, and if you know Rip Cache's work, it has a surveillance cameras, right? Typically a kind of prominent crypto artist, kind of a classic crypto art theme, the surveillance camera. And what it looks like is, and I don't know, I'm just speculating, but it kind of looks like it's been transformed from what's maybe usually a 800 pixel width file, if I had to hazard a guess, pixels, to maybe a 32 in terms of each pixel. Size, like a 36 by 36 maybe. Here's maybe 10, maybe 40 by 40. And it looks like it's been kind of crunched down. And I think it makes a pretty good-looking abstract, doesn't it? I suspect, and then you get weird little things, like you'll get the green square in the middle of the beige here, the gray beige here too. You'll see a green square on top and a beige square at the bottom here. Counterintuitive, which again makes me think likely this was just crunched down rather than built manually, but I am totally guessing. I do not know. So pretty interesting. Nice on the side here too. This kind of looks like a digital file that's getting ready to be printed. As you see here, Rip Cache on the side. Neutral, I think, is the name of the series. Public-private number 7. Particle number 01 of 64. Now there are pretty complicated mechanics, at least for me. I wasn't exactly sure what was going on. Sneak peek of the particles. This is particle collection of neutral, each with their unique particle number. So I guess that's here, 01 of 64. The particles visually change, altering the metadata. Should the particles visually change, altering the metadata, should the collector choose to scratch the physical in an ongoing vote? And we're going to see what this is referring to in a second. There are little parts on these screen prints, which we're going to see, where I think you can scratch off to reveal a number. Should a vote be ratified to scratch the physical? And maybe they hold both, and then people who buy them vote. The digital counterpart will be retrieved and held securely in the Particle Foundation wallet. So interesting. I'm not sure if I'd want to share. I guess if I was buying art, I'd kind of want to decide. I'd probably be happy either way with the digital or the physical. So all to say, kind of reminiscent a little bit conceptually to Damien Hirst. What was that called? The something, where there's all the dot paintings, and then he took the photo of the dot paintings, and then there's NFTs, and then you'd have to decide within a year if you wanted to keep the NFT or send it to get burned, and then you get the physical work, and then all the physical works that were never burned, or all the physical works that were never that the NFTs were kept, all those physical works are destroyed. So you only have one or the other, and you had a year to decide. Kind of a variation on this kind of physical digital thing. A second particle of the digital artwork will then be airdropped to every collector of the physical, signifying the permanent decoupling of the physical from the digital. So something going on here with some voting and some mechanics here. Anyone interested in the entire artwork, physical to start, and digital if decoupled, can place an offer on the Particle platform via the buyout contract. That offer goes to a vote to all Particle collectors. A successful vote, so I assume maybe 64 people. I'm just trying to guess here. Triggers the underlying work to be transferred to its new owner, shipped if physical, sent on chain if digital, and particle collectors of the work can then burn their particles for their pro rata share of the accepted offer. So DMs are open for any questions. If you are in there and trying to figure it out, you can just DM particle, collect particle here. At Particle Collection. There we go. And Pablo, thrilled to announce the latest edition of RFC Collection. Rip Cache is neutral from the public-private series acquired through Collect Particle forward-thinking platform. This piece is a profound interplay of art and technology featuring a 2-foot by 2-foot screen print on metal. You know who else uses aluminum? Or at least, I don't know if this is aluminum, but you know who uses aluminum with digital is actually David Hockney. I remember going to a David Hockney show when seemed like there was a David Hockney show around every corner. We talk about Picasso fatigue. There's almost David Hockney fatigue. I remember there's just like for about 4 or 5 years, there seemed to be just always David Hockney shows. All to say, but they're fascinating. Great artist. He would print on aluminum some of his phone works or iPad works. And I thought that was quite interesting so I've never tried printing on aluminum, but it is an option, and it probably does kind of create a vibrancy in the work. So it is an option. So it looks like metal is being used here. Featuring a 2x2 screen print on metal and its digital twin on the blockchain, it delves into the intricate themes of surveillance and data privacy, challenging us to reconsider the boundaries between physical and digital. The real intrigue lies in the choice it offers, maintaining the integrity of the physical work or revealing the Ethereum key by scratching off a part of it, which we will see in a second. As one of the 64 co-owners, we are now part of a collective journey deciding the fate of this artwork, a journey that redefines the value and permanence of art in the modern age. A big shout out to Particle for pioneering this dynamic approach to art, engagement, and ownership. So here it is. So quite complicated, I must say. Here, this is the key. So 25 pounds of pressed steel. So this doesn't look like it's aluminum. It looks like steel, hilariously here. And there, I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that? It says access key. So I assume this is where you scratch it off. And there you can find out what the number is. So the Ethereum number, I guess, which is the code, I think, to get the digital. So there it is. Looks quite vibrant, all to say. So cool work there. And so this we looked at. So interesting. Very, very interesting and quite beautiful what's going on there. And interesting interplay. Is endlessly fascinated over here. You know, and I think it's great that, you know, the more digital, and we're going to see Vinny Hagar here, also in a comment here, you know, this digital artist making physical work, I think it just adds credibility to the whole space in its own way. And so it's always exciting to see it. And I think it's, you know, just from a pure physical art perspective, it's very rich, it's new, it feels good when it's got this digital kind of feel to it, like screen printing as we saw there with pixels. It's very interesting. It's not easy, you know, again, everything feels like it's been done until you start incorporating new technologies into the mix. Anyways, let's continue here. Thrilled to welcome Salawaki. Should be fun, really fun and cool this Wednesday here with Dina Chang. And I'm not sure, I'm going to broadcast Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week, and then put the Twitter space on Wednesday afternoon as usual. So I'm going to switch up the schedule a little bit just to try and make a little more art. I'm going to do that as a test. Let's see what happens. So going to try that out. So the next show here, video, will be on Wednesday, FYI. Come join Dina Chang. So Dina Chang is going to guest co-host for one more week here as Runtune wraps up the trip in Asia there. Very jealous. Bangkok, Vietnam, everything. So anyways, should be a great show. I've just posted this on Twitter. Santiago Isacodal and B, thank you for, I did basically an interview discussion with Santiago on, I think it's live radio in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken, with both B and Santiago Isacodal. It was a ton of fun, great way to start the weekend. My Saturday morning, their Saturday night, or Friday night, their Friday night. So that is, I retweeted that as well, and that is available in the Twitter feed, the X feed as well. A lot of comments there yesterday So thank you, Martin, Joe, and Human Boy, and Ariel. Thank you for sharing. The show is getting better and better. I'm glad to hear that. Doing what I can here. Retro Manny, the last essential viewing of the week. Thank you. Inigo Bilbao, who made these brilliant works of art here to open the show. Heard from Inigo, which is awesome. Many, many thanks. You are more than welcome. As I said here, thanks for a great start to the show. David, amazing. When a 3D art special. I've been toying with this idea for maybe a year even of doing a live, maybe thematic, where people can send in their art and then there's just an online live discussion. Something I'm just kind of thinking about as I continue to kind of experiment and evolve here. So thank you, David. Maybe at some point we do a 3D art live space, which could be super interesting. Renato, huge thanks. Great to hear from you. Mika Oladef, great to hear from you. And Crimson, awesome artist, probably referring to Inigo, totally. And Walk, Salawaki, great to hear from you. Looking forward to Wednesday. Vinny Hager, hey, thanks for the shout. The prints are from my diary collection, which allowed those who minted to claim a physical print. So again, more digital here. If you remember the works from last show, which looked really cool, those are based on this diary project. So just really cool work there. Brain Dead, I've got a haircut, a heart cut at another hard deadline. So I've got a heart cut. Interesting. Thank you for the comment, Brain Dead, as ever. And Brain Dead put a very interesting retweet out there too with Dunamis. Being excited. It's not just, it's a philosophical concept. Indeed. I felt a little bit of reservation, as you could imagine, putting a Greek word there in the title. And you know what? Because at first I was just going to write it Dynamis, but I was like, this is not going to be kind of read necessarily the right way. And then I just thought, like, what would I do if I was just doing this for myself and nobody was listening? I was like, I'd totally put the Greek. So let's put the Greek. So anyway, thank you, Brain Dead, for the comment. Andreas Birath, Inigo's work is amazing indeed. Kel's, nice one. So true about Lorna Mills. That's absolutely her in that yellow, I don't know if it's a tennis ball, but that great yellow work. Luciana Guerra, great to hear from you. And that might be AI Bot, W74. Thank you, Guru Hyena. Awesome. And I think this might be an AI Bot as well, but not. Apologies if not. We also heard from Demon Ego over the weekend. Thank you for featuring my work and providing me with an opportunity to answer your questions. Thanks to my work exhibited in Rome, where I was invited by co-collectors, I took a step to take a new experiment in my art and discover a new way in creating physical and digital art. So more physical and digital art. Again, that makes me very kind of bullish on this scene. There is increased credibility, let's face it, as an artist. As I've long said, multimedia, multi-chain, multi-platform. This is multimedia. And, having physical works, again, and it also expands your opportunity set as well. Because then you can advertise, then you can show in a physical gallery. This is how I go about creating the works you have shown and that I have created recently. First, I designed the print file digitally. After taking the print, I add physical materials, interventions, drawings, and other things to complete it. So again, this was the work we were looking at here. So this is printed and then doodle on top. And again, very reminiscent to, obliquely to Warhol and Basquiat. Warhol screen prints, hard edge, these kind of clean, for the most part, sort of images, and then Basquiat on top, just kind of doodling over top, like a notebook, and then you just get this natural contrast of these kind of corporate shapes with this kind of doodling, scratchy, and you see that here, right? This contrast, the same kind of contrast is going on here with Demon Ego. So thank you for that. What inspires me here are images on digital screens, Windows, glitches in operating systems, and retro games. So many of us are inspired by this. I'm creating the series you showed for a special drop I will be doing with Join, and each time it opens new doors to experience new things and discover new steps in my art. So Demon Ego continues to push ahead and push further here. And also, Hermanos Cutter, who did the screen print. The one-color screen print, I think it was red and white. Hello, Adrian. We agree that keeping it simple has its merits as well as its difficulties and gives a pregnancy to the image in question. Thank you for showing our screen printing. We appreciate your words. You're more than welcome, Hermanos. I thought this was just really interesting. Vinny Hagar's, there's a link in that that goes to this website where Vinny Hagar's work was on, and then I just kind of loaded up the website, which I don't think I've been to, Hype Art, which I think is a division of Hypebeast. And look at this. This is a month old, but I never saw this. X-user used AI to complete Keith Haring's unfinished painting. So this was an unfinished painting by Keith Haring. It still is. And I found it quite mystifying I would argue, I'm not sure this is unfinished, is what I'm trying to say here. This actually looks quite finished. It looks like a goodbye work, is what I would say. Because why is the marker going right? Put it this way, it sure is a weird way to build an artwork. To paint along and then continue the markers, what would seem to make sense, and who knows, maybe this is how Keith Haring worked, but what would seem to make sense is maybe you put the purple first and then you put the other colors on top. But I don't know how Keith Haring works, so who knows? But to me, this actually looks like a goodbye work. This is the finished work, I would argue, but not sure about that. Anyway, this Twitter user here, I think I have it big. So here's the work, gorgeous, and again, with all the drips and everything, this kind of, and you see the kind of the happy, the kind of the happiness triumphing over everything here, this figure here. And this is the work finished by AI, and I thought it was just very illustrative because Donnell here, and this got 30 million views, by the way. Now using AI, we can complete what he couldn't finish. And I guess why I'm showing this is you see some of the limits, at least the limits of this AI artist. Because it's very clear to me, you see the soul in the top left, and in the rest of this is just patterning. This is, I think we could say with a lot of certainty, Keith Haring wouldn't do anything like this. Here it's quite clear, like this is the real Keith Haring where there's representational with patterning. This is literally just patterning here. Where's the representational stuff? So this is just filler. This is something to look at the corner of your eye. And if you're not looking directly at it, maybe it's convincing. But this is not, so I just thought it was interesting because I actually thought this is not, as is claimed here, using AI we can complete what he couldn't finish. I actually think he could do a better job, even with AI, to complete this. But this is patterning here. So, but interesting image and interesting concept. And again, I'm not convinced that this isn't all completely on purpose. This looks like a goodbye, but I'm not sure. Let's continue here. Just a quick comment from Alain Servet that I thought was, again, my guilty pleasure. He doesn't seem to have a huge audience, but I hope one day he discovers this show because I love to quote Alain Servet on this show. Any super rich schmuck can buy a yacht or a mansion, but if a wealthy person aspires to be more than just another Kardashian, one asset transcends all of this and changes the very identity of its owner, notably in the eyes of society. So showing the power of art. Now, this is referring to an article by Ezra Chawaiki. So an interesting one. But actually, part of the reason I bring up that Alain Servet is because a couple of interesting articles came out, which we don't really have a ton of time to look at here. But Surrealism turned 100. There are a couple of kind of notable art articles that came out from the FT, again, linked by Alain Servet. Surrealism at 100, does it still have the power to disrupt? So the Surrealist Manifesto was published in Paris in 1924. And so that is 100 years ago. So it is kind of an interesting landmark here. And let's just read a couple of paragraphs here. The slim volume turned out to be the most influential artistic pronouncement of the century. Breton argued that the rationale realpolitik had created the catastrophe of the First World War, right? As Ballard would call it, the nightmare logic of the 20th century. You know, the bloodiest of all centuries. Let's see how the 21st does. So there was a real kind of, as the decisions, this is, if I had to kind of congeal how I'd interpret this in very short form, back to the reality principle, where reality comes at us, reason makes sense of it, organizes it for us so that we have an understanding of reality. But the skepticism, I would argue, that surrealism shows towards reason, there's an assumption that if something has reason, that it's based in reality. That reason is basically, if there's reason, then it must be true. And I think the surrealists were basically showed skepticism towards this wisely, as Freud did as well. So let's just continue. So championing the irrational, the subconscious dream states, pure psychic automatism, which is, of course, the first definition of surrealism, which is in the Surrealist Manifesto. Surrealism has different definitions over time. Like Ballard has a whole essay, what did he call it? The Coming of the Unconscious, I believe is the name of the essay. And where he actually refers directly to this quote where he says, pure psychic automatism, far from it. Referring, like that was his take on how surrealism is far more than pure psychic automatism. And if I had to kind of, sketch out very quickly, I'd say this is the first, which is almost, what is psychic automatism? Just doing the first thing that hits you and just letting the flow of your unconscious, let's say. Not worrying again about being rational. Then, what would the next one be? Probably Salvador Dali's paranoid critical method, right? Where surrealism for Dali was using the rational and using the irrational and then applying reason to it. The paranoid, using the paranoid irrational imagination, and the critical, the rational, the paranoid critical method. And then Ballard, who I'd argue, J.G. Ballard, the author, again, probably considered the last classic surrealist, sometimes called, he basically, what was brilliant about Ballard is he kind of reimagined to a certain degree, and I would argue to a certain degree, systematized surrealism as a philosophy. Again, not to go too deep on this, but as I've mentioned in previous episodes, ultimately treating reality as a solidified dream, which requires a kind of Freudian dream work, to look at reality as having two layers, the surface layer, the manifest content, and then an underlying layer, the latent content, and that the job, just like the analyst's job, is to look at your dream, to hear your dream, and the surface content, analyze the manifest content to get to the reality, the latent content. And so Ballard believed, this is about reality and our understanding of what's actually going on. And then furthered, one step further, particularly in the context of a kind of paranoid media landscape where JFK is assassinated under weird circumstances. And then, fissures, as he said, were, that created fissures in the, popular psyche. JFK's assassination that are still reverberating to this day, right? As we see with conspiracy and alt media and all of this. So all to say, there are different definitions of surrealism. It has a history. There's not just one, is kind of what I'm trying to say here. All to say, kind of a surface article here. It's long, but it doesn't really ever go into too much depth. And kind of had a weird ending here, too. We sometimes forget that Breton, a mediocre poet, which is not necessarily untrue, inspired chiefly as a prophet. Yeah, exactly. There was the Pope, of surrealism here. He believed surrealism would change the world. A committed Marxist, he joined the French Communist Party in 1927. In a sense, one can read, this was a big bone of contention between, I think, Dali, who was a rampant capitalist. In a sense, one can read surrealism as the 20th century child of the seminal 19th century thinkers Marx and Freud, both now utterly unfashionable. So weird kind of ending there. I wasn't quite sure how to read what the author is trying to say there. There's also another one that I just wanted to touch on here. Barbara Kruger has a show at London Serpentine. We're living in an incredible time, a car crash of narcissism and voyeurism. This never comes up again in the article, though, unfortunately. So here, I thought we could just see. So interesting treatment here. Interesting thing going on there with it all breaking down. Of course, looking like that whole obey, that Shepherd Fairy kind of obey fashion thing. And so all to say, a couple of interesting articles here in the FT of note that were probably going around. Okay, let's go back here. So just more on the Let's Glitch It's on Donia, AKA's glitch cameras here. Edgar Fabian Frias has one already. I'm already obsessed, and we see it in action here. So, what a brilliant idea. It's almost like could be mass produced, this thing. Quite brilliant. And here's another one. In love with my new glitch cam circuit bent by Let's Glitch It. So here, a portrait, a self-portrait. I mean, it's incredible. So the camera works, so to speak. So just very, very cool from Sky Goodman, who's actually going to be on the Spaces in February, which should be great. Stip and Pixel, landscape artists in Impressionism used a small frame and painted what could be seen inside of it. I did not know that. Now artists use Zora Canvas while on vacation and can enjoy nature and technology. Enjoy your trip in the valley, my friends. So making a work here using Zora's Canvas here again. So just kind of cool. And Brain Dead. This is a traditional pixel art animation, ink on graph paper, so more physical and digital. 8 pages in total. Black version is also minted for Tez for Pal in case if anybody wants to have one. All proceeds will be sent to International Network for Aid, Relief, and Assistance in support of Gaza civilians. So here it is. So, I mean, pretty brilliant, pretty awesome. And of course, graph paper being perfect for pixel art here. And inverting it here. Cool from Brain Dead, and let's just take a quick look. Let us take a quick look here on Object. Ink on graph paper, open edition, 1 Tezos, 40 minted so far, and there it is. Pretty cool. Powerful work. Love this edge here too. So from Brain Dead, and here's another one I think from Brain Dead, making new friends. So bit of a pixel art factory sort of thing going on here. Let's take a closer look here. Oh, this is the 100%. Interesting pixels here. Almost distorted, perhaps, if I'm not mistaken here. Interesting pixels at the bottom there, Brain Dead. And here we see some doves and just what almost looks like a printer or something, some sort of machine dropping pixels. Kind of looks like printer ink a little bit. Not sure. Chirp, making new friends. Chirp, chirp. Okay. 10 Tezos. At auction. Gogolitis, with our thoughts we create the world. Good morning, everyone. This is beautiful. Look at this. So Gogolitis is back. Every time Gogolitis comes back, it's like a whole new phase. Just beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's continue. I think we have another one from Gogolitis. Doing some research here and continuing to develop the color. Step 1, step 2, and here you see Gogolitis at work, so enjoying the works in progress here. And here we have Le Chat Noir, Neural Fusion, Complexity, Chaos, and Rooted Turbulence. So this is 25 Tezos edition of 10. And as you can see here, just an interesting piece on Object. Not exactly sure. Maybe I can zoom in. Nope. Just a little bit. Not exactly sure what's going on here, but kind of a cool look to it, isn't it? Again, Neural Fusion and Chat Noir. So a new discovery here for me, and this is an edition of 10 for 25 Tezos, and there are 5 left. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of Neurocolor here with a work called Nous. And this is, of course, another important, many of you will probably know this word, important Greek philosophical word here as well, which we won't put in the title here this time. Intellect, mind, kind of world. I don't know if I'd call it world mind, but intellect. This is the later spelling, N-O-U-S. Of course, the earlier spelling is N-O-O-S. Very important in Platonic philosophy especially, but just Greek philosophy in general. Anyway, let's look at Neurocolor here. So interesting piece here with the kind of fuzzed out. I guess the fuzzed out part is probably not a part of the work. And here we see this kind of green animation and everything, just an interesting, just enigmatic work, as I like to say. Cone cells hacked, so just interesting from Neurocolor. Let's continue. Interesting piece by Michael Micasso. Love the almost green apple II color here. So here, continuing with the DOS works here, with a nice mono color in that one. And let's continue. Uxine, Fear and Loathing in the Passport Queue for the Disadvantaged. I thought this was an interesting GIF because it's almost like all these different impressions one might have in the passport queue of maybe, you know what it reminded me of? If you saw the end of the last episode where there was a painting of people going through the checkpoint, kind of reminds me of the checkpoint painting a little bit. Here's the, almost looks like a riot police but what's interesting is from all these different angles, at the same time, and all these different renditions. So just giving you this kind of wave of impressions, even different colors. Fear and Loathing in the Passport Queue for the Disadvantaged. So interesting work from Uxine, just a GIF posted on X. Denirus with an interesting work. Continue. Artificial intelligence results made for inexplicable video games in the eternal void from the obliterated memories. So continue. And here we see a pixelated skull figure, almost video game-esque. This is 2 Tezos and edition of 10. And here, another skull. Steel Spiker, this is Tom Bombadil. And this is an edition of 1. And let's just look up close here. Look at how great this is. Even a little bit of a gradient in the teeth. And here we see this really cool Steel Spiker. So again, let's see if it hasn't been listed yet, or maybe it was sold private sale to Art for Scullin. So maybe it's just sent over. Oh, here it is. Auction 200 Tezos. Wow. So nice sale there. To Dr. Lee NFT and then sent over to Art for Skulls. There's probably a whole gallery of skulls there. Element Lee, I thought this was a brilliant work. As you can see here, the windshield wiper, and then revealing the, what's outside the window there. Really, really nice piece here from Element Lee, 200 pixels by 200 pixels on Instagram there. Here's another one, Pointer, and kind of these steps. And again, you see kind of this is the more minimal style that you're kind of used to, that you might be used to with Element Lee here. And just kind of suggestive and not worrying about filling everything in here. Just really cool. 256 by 256. Continuing on. Here is Santiago. This is Your Mind on Goblin Core. Love these margins and even love the color of the green here. It has a real good feel to it, doesn't it? Kind of feels like modern art, doesn't it? Love the green here. It kind of makes the piece for me. And then it puts all of this, and then everything is kind of bouncing off of this green and this interesting square margin here. That is 10 Tezos. It is an edition of 10. And we have another Santiago. This was on Twitter, kind of like a Bitcoin orange. Orange art is not even art, which is kind of funny here. And so just an interesting work here, kind of stretched out. And on the top right here, as you can see, so just interesting experimentation. Let's keep going. Here's another one with light green. So playing with colors here to great effect, I'd say. This is what I think. Kind of an enigmatic title there, or post. Let's continue. And here's another work. This is Clint Fulkerson playing with Santiago's pixel colors. So maybe a kind of collab here between the two artists. It still looks like you can still feel the Santiago feel to it. So cool collab here. Maybe it's the color. Maybe it's the color and even just the interesting composition and everything. Cool work there. Here's PP Universal back in the days. And as you can see here, another, what looks like someone blowing the dust off of an old Super Mario Kart game here. And look at how huge this is. And really nice treatment here. As we go up close, and you see it's all made of these faces here. So all these interesting little clues. Again, I'd say this is typical, and this person is made of these faces, as well. And look at the McDonald's logo in the lips here. And here, kind of the air. So very interesting up close on this PP Universal work. Back in the days, referring to the video games, one going to Hans here, and edition of 5. Here's one by Rustic Digital Art, My Babies. So cool work here. Maybe the portrait of a girlfriend, perhaps. And there's the Mario and the duck. And look at this great sun here. This pixelated sun and a massive Pikachu sideways, not making any sense at all. Proudly, probably. And there, the heart upside down. There, a half-filled heart and more. So just really cool. And there's a gun and a chair, just for added measure. Love the duck hunt there, too. So cool work. That is Rustic Digital Art. Edition of 1, selling for 45 Tezos. Nice sale. And here, another one from Jake Studios, Fear of Missing God. And this is an edition of 20 for 333. And so interesting, almost like a crucifixion style, but with Wi-Fi in the head. Again, always kind of suggestive, never literal. And there, a closed window, no gain. So just an interesting work here from Jake Studios. Another one. Look at how rough that is. Or loose, I should say. Beautiful piece. Interesting piece. And again, with the title, you can't help but feel that there is a reference to the crucifixion somehow. 333, edition of 20. Continuing on, this was kind of an interesting piece that got a lot of play there. 30,000 views. Ilio Givel. And interesting kind of play with representation here. Different just ways of representing the elephant, but all put together in one drawing. That really resonated with people. Elephant genes. So it's like genes on the elephant. Interesting. More experimentation here. So here, Turkarak, playing with these kind of pixelated photos and drawing on top of them, which is pretty interesting. So interesting work from Turkarak. There were a few. So this is called Hug. This is 4 Tezos. And edition of 1, so very cheap. In the Pool, edition of 1 for 4 Tezos. And again, combining just these kind of almost pixelated, I guess they are pixelated photos with drawings by Turkarak on top. Interesting experimentation, very cheap one of ones. Here's a beautiful work by Wasteman Goldminovich, the failed artist number, what are we at? 68, self-portrait, Falling in the Canal. So there, a beautiful work with the McDonald's cigarette. Look at how carefully painted this is. And again, the textured brush contrasting beautifully with this beautiful green, this flat green in the background here. And all sorts of stuff going on, the wine. Of course, the hot dog, which the fish is about to eat. And it's hard to tell. It makes you wonder if this is all underwater. And there's a little Tezos sign. And, of course, the fries. I fell asleep by the canal after a large supper, and I must have rolled in. Thankfully, the cold water woke me up. So this is maybe half underwater here. Cool work, all to say. Love the color. I picked one up. This is a 1 of 1 by Wasteman Goldminovich. This is number 67, Failed Artist. And interesting piece here as well. And here, you know, watching TV, and there is the McDonald's plant with the cactus in it, and a toy gun, maybe with mustard in it. A little Tezos sign. Welcome to McDonald's in the background. Very carefully painted there. Again, this beautiful contrast of this texture with this flatness really working nicely there. And here we see the McDonald's drink with some cigarettes there. Continuing on, that's 33 Tezos 1, edition of 1. In the Shadow of a Doubt by Mumbleboy, this is an edition of 2. And here, another interesting collage and combination of a little bit of paint in there, one suspects. And just another, I don't know the kind of the method behind the madness here, but it does look consistent, doesn't it? So more just interesting, super interesting digital collage work from Mumbleboy. This is also a 1 of 1. It really holds together nicely when you take a step back here too. This sold for 10 Tezos to Skulltakes, I believe, for 10 Tezos. So edition of 2. And here's one by Lorna Mills, Chicken Little. with the small dog, the Chihuahua seemingly getting hit by the Oreos here. So more interesting, funny work from Lorna Mills, 20 Tezos, edition of 32. And some nice works here by Françoise Gamma, as you can see, as we try and make these bigger here. Kind of nice and kind of noisy work of the person walking. This one I particularly liked. There's another one. This is 250 edition of 21. Here's another one, Quam 4, 250 edition of 21. Really nice, kind of old school horizontal pixels. Very just cool work here from, Françoise Gamma. If we can rescue the screen here. Haiti Rocket, Goodyear. So let's see if this plays. Okay, we're in business here. So more Nintendo Glitch ROM from Haiti Rocket. Really beautiful sky here as the Goodyear blimp goes through. Gets noised out here. And there it comes back, the race car here. Very cool work. This is an edition of 2. And this is 13 Tezos, was for 13 Tezos sold on primary. And here's another one, Night Shark. And this is an edition of 1 and never sold within, so it might have burnt it right away. I like this solution by Haiti Rocket where if you put something out and it doesn't sell instantly, you just turn into a 1 of 1. Then you have a 1 of 1 on your hands. And this is quite beautiful here. As you can see, just always has a ton of energy in his glitch ROMs. Night Shark, edition of 1. Some cool RGB drawings from Sabato here. This is on exchange.art on Solana. They look pretty fabulous here. So playing with red, green, blue here, clearly. And here's RGB number 3, reserve of 2 sol. Let's see if we can load it up. And some nice dithering. Looks like abstracts, doesn't it? Using red, green, and blue. So nice pieces here for Solana. Here's another one, number 2. Nice horizontal work. Let that load up. So just playing with patterning and what looks like just an abstract look here. Here's a really nice one as well, number 1. This is also 2 sol of a reserve. So we'll see how these do, but pretty nice pieces here. Nice abstracts from Sabato using, of course, Deluxe Paint 4. One assumes RGB drawing 2024. So more cool retro tools there from Sabato. Sean-Luc, Heads Will. And one assumes roll as they roll through this piece here. Maybe some more skulls in here. So interesting piece here from Sean-Luc. Let's see what happened here. One transferred to Bodacious Pirate. So maybe a private sale or a commission here from Sean-Luc. So that is pretty cool. Usually they're editions of maybe 15 for 150 Tezos each, or 10. I'm not sure what the edition number is, but they sell for a lot. So that's a pretty precious 1 of 1. Walk, 1002, as he continues, I think, to go through 911 here. And so here is another still from the series here. Now we're a minute later. So digital artwork edition of 1, selling for only 3 Tezos. So they are all selling as well. So you can still get a Walk 1 of 1 as long as the series continues. You might be able to get one cheap. And let's see if this loads up here. It has to load up because otherwise, okay, here we are. There is no take 2 here. Okay, Dan Control yesterday. So beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. As we see the drones mixed in with the old cameras with almost what looks like stage. I guess that's a TV, retro TV maybe, a laptop, virtual gear. So just a ton of tech with a nice gray background. Again, 16 by 9. So cool piece there from Dan Control. Again, just reusing elements. Here's Nuv 1914. This is on Zora. A nice work called Gato, which is, I believe, cat, which is this cat here. So interesting brushwork here. Interesting tool to make, almost looks like inflated balloons. And then a little bit of gradient here for good measure, as well as on the side. And there were a ton put out by Nuv 1914 this weekend. This looks like a turtle, as you can see at the top here. This was these are some of my favorites here. This turtle, and then just some interesting, what looks like abstraction. Maybe it's water and grass at the bottom there. And I think that one was still available. Here's a rabbit and a carrot. And so, interesting piece here too. And this sold to Klaus for 9 Tezos, 1 of 1. And here's another one. I think this is the last, Abel and Rue. And this also sold to Trippy Collector for 70 Tezos. So nice offer there from Trippy Collector. So getting both the dogs here together. So nice sale there for Nov 1914. And look at this. So edgy. Just brilliant. This was also, I mean, another example of the edginess of Nov 1914. Te accompagno. And here, 9 Tezos, edition of 2. I mean, just to show you up close, I mean, this kind of looks like JPEGization. Maybe it's something else. But again, you see the risks that Nov 1914 is willing to take when making art. And that is so much easier said than done. And look at even just this gradient at the bottom there. Trademark, I'd say at this point. Interesting piece here. So that's 9 Tezos edition of 2. And here's another mysterious one. This is Agua, so maybe water, edition of 1 for 100 Tezos. This one was put at. So not sure why this one, usually they go for 9 or 10. So not sure why this one would be more. Who knows? So again, the enigma continues with Nov 1914. I should see if they're available for a space. Let me just plug in. This is probably why my computer is creating issues here. It is not plugged in. Okay, we live and learn as we continue here. Zozo. Now everything will probably run brilliantly. So no volume on this one. So another interesting piece here from Zozo. Almost looks like the palm trees are being reused a little bit, doesn't it? Maybe that's grass, not sure. So a bit of an abstract one, layered water. And so the cycling gradient here is water, 3 Tezos edition of 20. And more from Kikilo. Some more of these, what look like, Sega Genesis figures turned into paintings here. Here is one, Night. This, I'm not sure if this was burned. And here is another one, Aika. This is 10 Tezos edition of 1. Interesting series there. Anime Japan in the tags there. This was interesting too. Who is this? Guru Hyena. Come on, let's print and start assembly. And this is on Zora. So we can actually quickly open that. And here is the work. So free mint on Zora. So that is cool. Look at how original that is. Again, kind of has a bit of an anime manga feel there. And there you see at the bottom, Guru Hyena product 2024. Interesting piece. And continuing on, Dana Ulama, open edition soon. Good night. So new one from Dana Ulama, it seems. Again, using more the morning palette as she was describing it the other day. And really beautiful piece here. Kind of has that fisheye perspective too that she likes to use. Again, kind of more cyberpunk with a dash of vaporwave in the palette there. Interesting work there. And here is Renixdeer, who is going to be on the spaces in a couple of weeks here. And so I think this is part of a newer series. Cool minimal work here, playing with light and gradients here. So nice piece there. And here's another one, Valentina Lupi, that could hang in the same show, I think. Endless Impressions of Tasteful Ignorance. Interesting title. Let's look. Again, just these kind of slow cycling gradients of pink and white. Interesting minimalism that we're seeing on the blockchain here, isn't there? So again, that is Valentina Lupi, 50 cents, edition of 10. Pretty reasonable. Kazuhiro Ehara. This is posted on X. And interesting work from Kazuhiro, who works pretty experimentally. And here is another example. Kind of a little bit different, though. I didn't see this minted anywhere. Interesting, animated abstract, I guess I'd call it. Let's continue here. Mika Oladev, 3D glitch pixel art. So this is an edition of 1. And again, kind of interesting pixelation. Or rasterization, whatever you would call that, bitmapization. Love the side here too. That I love little details like this. And then over here, and then we see this kind of jeweled pixelation in the figure here. Mika Oladev, 65 Tezos. Sold for 65 Tezos to August Ground. Nice. 1,000 by 1,000. Klaus is at number 100 here. Gift for all current composition. So anybody that's bought the first 99, you got this in the mail from Klaus in your wallet. So that is pretty cool. And I think we have another, maybe that was all we had from Klaus this time. I had 99 up. It may show up again here. Nicholas Sassoon, RGB study number 41. So another edition of this series that's being released, at least at first, on X. And here, some interesting works by Renki, which are starting to have a bit of a retro feel to them, interestingly. Koriyama. So here is one where, again, you see that kind of one-bit bitmapization or one-bit look. And then, let me just make it big. Then we have another one here. Again, kind of has a retro feel to it, doesn't it? Kind of looks like, again, cycling through effects is actually what this looks like. Beautiful textures here. So interesting kind of geometric animated abstract. This is an edition of 1 for 80 Tezos. And here's Elby. I'd rather go somewhere instead. So interesting piece here from Elby. So nice textured animated video glitch. So just kind of nice and slow here. Interesting piece. Using a VHS, it looks like 3 Tezos edition of 15. And here is Score. Let's take a closer look here. This is called Emma, made with Touch Designer and Adobe 3D Scan, of course. Let's see if we can get this working. And no volume, no audio on this one. Interesting cube. And it looks like it just goes back and forth. And again, you see kind of the shine here and all these particles here, and again, probably using 3D scanning to get this part here. Almost looks like a booth in a market or something, but hard to say. It's a temple. At Gotokuji Temple in Tokyo, small wooden plaques. Interesting. Love the square here. Tezos PC. This is Kuhei Yamashita. Interesting work here with just a PC with a Tezos logo on it, and of course you can zoom in. And with these kind of circles radiating from it, interesting work there. And here's Ellie Lowe, Trash Bag S2, Season 2, Episode 1. A little bit of volume. Into the trash we go. So, doing a lot of trash works. I don't know if we'd call Ellie Lowe a trash artist. 2D, 3D artist, there you go, who's made a ton of really cool works with the trash theme. And so a new one there on Object. And here's another trash work, Trash Toter 29. So this is part of a larger series. I thought this was a nice work here, a nice kind of glitched out work. As you'll see here, there are several different ones. So that is number 29. And as you can see, there are different ones here. So that is Bleak, BL33K on Object. New account I haven't seen, or at least an account that I haven't seen. Sulkian. Of course, Sulkian, I think out of Argentina, always has kind of like, or recently has come back and has some pretty unusual works. 252 likes, pretty good on Instagram here. Even the little interface at the bottom almost sounded like Kraftwerk there for a second. Interesting piece from Sulkin, super original artist. And here, this could hang in the same room, I think. Sky Goodman, Video Game Mythology is a great title. And here you see all of these, what looks like an AI work with some shiny figures here and shiny objects, multicolored, polished objects here. Interesting work there. And here is Estelle Flores. Stable diffusion, output, model fine-tuned to the style, contain real ingredients. Kind of looking like a casket called Death Play. Let's see if we can make that bigger. Interesting texture. This is the texture you do associate with Stable Diffusion. So more examples of that. Interesting colors there too. Interesting subject. And selling for 15 Tezos to Mika Oladev. Nice. And continuing on, here's 0009, I believe. Constructs, GM. So I believe this would be AI artwork here from 0009. Interesting piece. And here, just posted on X there, Oscar Rodrigo's Amado. This also looks like AI. Definitely in the tech and the tattoos there. And here's another maybe it's photo, but it's probably AI, because this almost has a pre-Raphaelite feel to it, weirdly. Still has a painterly feel to it. Interesting work there. Collage exploration is a ritual of self-knowledge. Maybe it's collage. Porta Melmar. I think we've looked actually at a lot of Porta Melmar's work before. Maybe this is collage. Not sure. Interesting. This is AI, and this is Mo, I believe. Or no, Guru Hyena. I just minted Social Time. Or maybe this is Mo. This is Mo. Mo SHIT on Zora. Another work using this kind of stitching here and all of these wild references, kind of disparate references here in one context with these big butterfly wings, this winter scene, just interesting AI work from Mo. Here's another one. Keeping with the stitching here, what I keep inside of me, this is a Tezos edition of 20. So interesting piece there, almost like an igloo and a porcupine, maybe. And continuing on to real stitching. Logi, it's official. I'm not sure. I think this is the art fair. So we've looked at work by this artist before where it's stitching and always looking really interesting. And there is the title or the name of the artist, Logi Hujelsken. And again, interesting, just kind of knit. It's almost like the way of making this work determines the composition. Right, that's why things aren't overlapping, because that would be too difficult. So kind of the result being a function of the process and the limitations of the process, interestingly. So very cool artist here. Here's Moto 583. This is a close-up of a work, which I thought was great. See the little grenades there and almost this medieval times kind of thing with a knight with a dog's head. Here are other works. This looks like a close-ups of a larger work, but it's not sure which one. Interesting artists. Moto 583, Moto Hero. It's Not Gallery with another interesting piece. This is by Kevin Ford, painter. And here, just kind of a funny, almost kind of meme-looking work here with a soft kind of bear here and a blue sky. So just interesting, kind of funny work. And here's Machine with an edgy work here. Air France anthropomorphized, and here with a so a lot of humor here. We're going supersonic, airbrush on canvas. So interesting piece, kind of a humorous piece there. From Machine, Tamara Tolkien. This was kind of interesting too. Same image two ways. So painting different digital ways of processing this is what it looks like here. It looks like, this has been maybe processed digitally and then painted different versions of it with real paint, seemingly. This is kind of an edgy work from Drew, who used to be in Berlin here, Dre Gallery, artist John Nobrega. So the artist is John Nobrega, so edgy work here with what looks like a nun with blood all over the place. And here is Louis Rossignol, who we've looked at before. Interesting portrayal of the Joker, doing a lot of pop culture references. So here's the Joker movie, and this was great. Matthias Sarinsky with a motorbike here, almost reminiscent of the Evel Knievel work here. Going off into above the barbed wire there. Awesome work. Matus Szerzynski. And here's another work, Samuel Almanza. So again, just more interesting images that we're seeing come out of the contemporary art scene, acrylic on paper. Very interesting. Here's another one by Bondoso Bandido. And interesting, again, a lot of creativity here. You have a microscope, someone sleeping, maybe with medicine on the side, and then whoever this chemist is, and then text on top. Very unusual, very bold work. Like, it's just like, there's a sense of not caring in a good way in this work. Great brushwork here. Not worrying too much and just putting out a ton of work. Just to really continue to be fascinated by that artist. Here's another one by Joachim Official. So here's Superman, really nicely done. And here is Spider-Man. Not sure if we saw this one already. Kind of Steve Ditko-esque Spider-Man there. And finally, Donny O'Donnell with a cool sculpture here, beautifully rendered here, adding more credibility to Donny O'Donnell's work by doing a sculpture. Again, multimedia. And that is your show, everyone. Thank you for joining me as we do the marathon here once again. And until next time, I'll see you on Wednesday. I'll do the video, and then we'll do the Twitter Spaces that afternoon. Until next time, take care.